Broads Media.
Yo, fellas, I don't feel good. Nope, I feel like ass. I'm afraid. I'm afraid of Danny Briere right now. I'm afraid of Keith Jones. Maybe I'm not giving them enough credit, but I have PTSD because I've seen this organization. I've seen them being ran by crap forever. This is a problem. If they do not get rid of Sean Walker, I will be pissed. Now, the last that I saw was Frank Saravalli, or actually, was it Pierre LeBrun? There were a few different things out there. Elliot Friedman of 32 Thoughts, and, at least I'm in a better position now than if, I recorded this 5 hours ago, because it does seem like Sean Walker will be on the move, and there has been a lot of phone calls happening to Danny, thank the Lord. I'm not real happy with them thinking about keeping Nick Seeler, and I do believe deep down that he will sign a long-term extension here, and I don't feel that you sign a third-pair defenseman for 4 years or so, let's say, even if it comes at a cost at a couple mil. It's Nick Seeler we're talking about. Isn't it John Tortorella who has stressed publicly that we can't just fall in love with certain guys? And sure, he eats a bunch of shots and, okay, fine, third-pair guy. You don't sign Delorier to multi-year deals. You don't sign Nick Seeler, third-pair guy, for a long-term deal. You try and sell at the deadline and try and get as much as humanly possible. Now, I wouldn't just piss away these guys. For example, I'm not just trading Sean Walker for a third or fourth round draft pick, but I don't anticipate that being what the phone call is all about when people are checking in, right? There's absolutely going to be something for Sean Walker. Deep down, I think that's real, and maybe I'm just trying to convince myself that it's real because, apparently there were talks that started to heat up, and the camp of Sean Walker and the Flyers organization actually started to get closer to a number, which is a joke because I don't believe that Sean Walker for the next 4 or 5 seasons would be what he's giving us this year. Good organizations flip with Sean Walker. Hey, we're playing with house money right now because think about it. You took a contract in Cal Peterson. Hey, Sean Walker, nice little addition here, but he wasn't lighting the world on fire in his last stop. This was almost a project that you're trying to just get something out of him because he's in a new town, in a new city. And if you can somehow receive at the deadline a team willing to give up something nice to make a push, and he's having a sensational season playing a specific role on this team, good organizations know how to gather that value and apply it to this retool and apply it to getting a bunch of these great young players. And it would be foolish for Danny B to actually sign him. But I don't know if this was just a media leverage play. For example, what if Danny B is making it seem like, hey, we're coming around this 4.5 by 5 number, so then some light bulbs go off in other organizations and they think, hold on a second, we can do that. Oh, we can do that. Let's trade for Sean Walker. That's sort of what they're feeling out. Hey, we project him to be a top 6 guy. We think he could be a second pair offensive weapon who could jump up in the play, be that third wave, be that high guy, so you can get a nice shot out of a high slot on a 3-on-2. We think that that's good, and if we could get him for a second rounder, if it takes something like that, and we look at 4.5, maybe that's Danny B being way smarter than us, and we're just not accustomed yet to having that type of savviness in the front office. Now, once again, I think I'm living in la-la land right now because I want that to be true. I want that to be the case. I feel better now than I did 5 hours ago, but it's still an unsettling feeling until I see everything that's done, because I opened up my heart and gave them a lot of praise and gave Keith Jones a lot of respect, and then he goes on WIP earlier in this past last week, and he says, well, we're telling the fans that it's a rebuild, but in the locker room, we're telling them something completely different. And look, from a real objective view, I'm not angry at the team saying, hey, I don't want you to just pretend like it's okay to win 10 games this season. I don't want you thinking that it's all right to ho-hum through a regular season and half-ass it because we're looking at the big picture. No, because Owen Tippett, you're supposed to be a star and grow and develop and become a top leader, a top 6 guy. So as we continue to push here and you get that experience and we put you through a tough time under John Tortorella, a healthy tough time, but no walk in the park. I don't want them to go through 2 seasons here in Philly where you could just show up half the time that you want. Hey, you don't have to focus on being in the gym. Don't put your body in the right spots by getting the PT that you need. Don't stretch. I mean, I don't want that horrible approach. I want them to be determined to grind through an end of a regular season in a playoff push because that's how you get better. That's how you get sort of tested to see what you're made out of. We need answers, and we need to know what kids have it, what kids don't have it. Hey, we learned early, unfortunately, that Couturier said, no, thank you. All right, fine. You told us what we needed to know. Bang, bang, bang. Let's get Jamie Drysdale here. And I'm a little disappointed that he's injured right now. But also, as we look through their most recent run and the last 3 games that have happened, we haven't talked about yet. That loss in D.C., which definitely hurt considering you're up 2-0, and Bobby Brink comes back into the lineup, and he's been great, right? I'm saying he scores a goal, you feel good about yourself in D.C., and then they just get their ass kicked, and then they just get beat up, and then they play the I'm tough card late, and was it Hathaway who was throwing some mitts there, the dirty mitts with Tom Wilson? Was it? Yeah, I don't think it was Paling. I think it was Hathaway. Yeah. I think it was Hathaway. And it's just a horrible loss. And then we get the John Tortorella experience that he's going to bench guys no matter what. As soon as you saw him freak out at Bobby Brink on the bench, it was written in stone that kid's not going to see any more time. And I know that got a lot of people frustrated because it was a first half of a back-to-back. The team is missing Travis Konechny, which is a huge part of your offense. The dude lights the lamp at will. Outside of that, you have a couple of guys here and there, but it really sometimes gets dry, and that can't happen. I mean, come on now. The only time we score sometimes is on a shorthanded opportunity, which is nuts. But the moral of the story here is, looking at these games that were recently played here, if you were to sit someone like Bobby Brink, who you know can score, and you know you're playing the first half of a back-to-back, maybe you give him a longer leash. How else will he grow? But the thing is, this is what John Tortorella does. John Tortorella's moving Sean Couturier to be playing bottom 6 minutes right now. Cam Atkinson is a healthy scratch watching at the top of the stadium right next to the press box, and he's in a suit and tie. Okay? It doesn't matter. That's not what John Tortorella cares about is, hey, just put Bobby Brink out there. He's going to push certain buttons whether you like it or not, but reality is, this is the John Tortorella experience. So, knowing that, what do you want me to do? Sit here and bitch and complain that he benched the kid? He sat Joel Farabee for an entire game. He doesn't give a damn. And that's why John Tortorella gets the respect that he deserves and all, because he plays unique cards. He plays old school cards, and I've seen a lot of guys respond to it. Morgan Frost has responded to it tremendously. See, the thing is with Sean Couturier is, first off, I'm not having the strip the sea conversation. My God, you're all so sad and pathetic if you really think the sea isn't it. Dude, the problem with Sean Couturier right now is he hasn't played hockey in forever, and he had to recover, and then he played a ton of hockey. He looked really well. But when you do that, when you go from not playing, you're going from 0 to 100, your body will sort of wear down quicker than we would like to admit. But it takes some time. I do believe that after this season, he gets an off season. He sort of gets back into the groove a bit more. He is human. As much as we thought for a second maybe he wasn't. Okay, we thought he was a superhuman. maybe that was adrenaline. Maybe that was the fun that was coming back to him, the excitement to finally tie the skates back up and take the ice, to get some rushes going in practice, and Voorhees 3-on-2 break out the other way, whatever it is. That just unbelievable feeling that you get when not the wind, but when you're on the ice, it's hitting you in the face, the smell in the rink is back. There's nothing worse than when you're hurt, when you're injured, you're seeing the boys in passing, but you don't get to take the ice with them every day. I don't know if there was adrenaline, excitement, you want to prove people wrong, all that stuff, but the C, too fixated on the C. The Claude Giroux experience has everybody so disgusted. The C, I can't believe it. Couturier's not a leader. Holy shit, shut up. Shut up. We are so not in that position right now. This team was over-exceeding forever. What's happening is a little bit of injuries, and not a little bit, a lot of it. Think about who's hurt right now. Think about who's not playing. And by the way, not that they're a world beater by any means, but Rasmus Ristolainen hasn't been available for you. You're down Jamie Drysdale, and you don't have Travis Konechny. So there's reasons why this team, your backup goalie was Cal Peterson, which sucked. Now you get Felix Sandstrom in there, and hey, you got to win, which is magnificent, because on the second half of that back-to-back, they beat Ottawa, which you never know what you're going to get from that Ottawa game, unless it's just because I'm heartbroken due to that Saturday game that we've seen, not recently, but earlier in the season against Ottawa, that was just so blah, so boring, didn't show up to compete. From puck drop, you were essentially dead. You showed up with no pulse. So, maybe it's just me reliving that moment and reliving those times. But it was a good win to get with your backup goalie for sure. The reasons why, though, you're feeling nervous and you're feeling this very uncomfortable energy is because this was never going to be easy. They're not a team that's going to run away with that final spot in the Metropolitan. But I've been telling you all year, the New Jersey Devils are nobodies. They're nobodies. They're firing their head coach, trying to establish some sort of life. But I hate to break it to them. They don't have any damn life or soul in the Prudential Center at all. So shame on them. The Islanders. Do the Islanders scare me? I see breakdowns of all these future games and what we have to face compared to what they have to face. I'm letting this thing play out, and I'm not as nervous as some. Not yet. I'm not telling you it can't change. It absolutely can change. But I actually feel okay. I feel all right. I'm not telling you I feel magnificent. This Danny Briere trade deadline rumor circle and everything that's swirling is absolutely putting me in a way that is so disappointing. And I thought I was over this. I thought that there was no way, because I trusted Keith Jones and I trusted Danny Briere big time. If they just smack me in the face, then I can't believe I got sucked in that easily, because I thought I was better than that. And I thought that Keith Jones and Danny Briere were smarter than that. And I do. I think they're smarter than this. That's why I'm giving them a little leeway. I feel all right. I feel okay. But that was more towards, honestly, getting into the playoffs compared to not getting into the playoffs. So, I'm questioning that front office, though, more than I ever have. And that needs to be noted. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. It reminds me of the bad times. It reminds me of the times where you fail massively and you get stuck because you're battling those inner demons of, are you a middle of the pack team? Are we in the playoff, out of the playoff, in the playoff, out of the playoff type of team year in and year out? Or are we going to try and build this legitimate program? All right, that's more college-y, but this legitimate organization that nonstop looks like the Colorado Avalanche with Nathan McKinnon, Cale Makar, and studs like that. All right, I want that. How do I get that? Give me that. Please. I'd do anything. They fell in a shootout to the Blues the other night. Binnington was gross. Cam York hits the crossbar. Although if we're talking about getting lucky, there were some things that happened against Ottawa with Felix Sandstrom in that. A lot of post hit. A lot of post hit. I mean, a lot of post hit. But Tyson Forster net once, and he gets a penalty shot. That was pretty filthy. Awesome from the young kid, man. He is just on a roll right now, and it's beautiful to watch. But that shootout loss, the Kevin Hayes thing, with the weird breakaway where he lost the puck and it finds the net. I saw a lot of people bitching and complaining that you got a video tribute for Kevin Hayes. I think that definitely fits the mold for a thank you for your time type of video. Yeah, we live in a world now where too many people get it. But Kevin Hayes was here for 4 seasons, so that's not a cup of tea. That's not 1 year, that's not 2 years. And he was a big free agent guy. Look, he didn't work out here. I'm not telling you that I loved his production or anything like that, but I thought his intentions of coming to Philadelphia, if you remember the time of him speaking, how excited he was, he wanted to compete. The intentions were real, they were legit. He thought he could really help push this team over the edge. It didn't pan out, bad GM, but he's here for 4 years. He was with the Rangers for 5 years, and you picture those early stages with the Rangers. It felt like an eternity he wore that logo. He only wore it 1 year less here in Philly. I thought it was definitely reasonable to recognize him, and you boo him after he scores, but during that he got an ovation that I thought was reasonable. I saw a lot of fans, though, upset with just the idea of giving him a nice little, hey, thank you so much for your time here. Also keep in mind that he went through some very, 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 very sad things in his personal life while in this town as well. To pretend like that doesn't matter, to just thank you, hey, man, we know what you've been through, and we respect you. We love you. We were there for you during that time when he scored that goal. Remember when he pointed up and the whole Wells Fargo Center had that awesome moment? I mean, there were definitely some things. You recognize a Kevin Hayes. Just because it didn't work out doesn't mean you can't just say thank you, and we appreciate just what it was about and what the intent was. I don't think that that's crazy at all. So they only get a point, though. Cam York, Sanheim in overtime, almost had one. It was a weird, bad game, though. It wasn't a lot happening. Even when the Flyers scored, they threw a puck on net on a 2-on-1-ish as they were skating down the ice. Scott Lawton finds the net, Paling passed the puck over. You got to win those games, especially with some of the tough opponents coming up. I'm fascinated, though, to see how this whole thing goes. I don't believe in the Islanders. Man, they have 14 overtime losses. 14. They're snagging a lot of their points in these OTLs. They're 3 games, though, less than the Flyers do as a total. So keep that in your back pocket for whatever it's worth, unless they're playing tonight. I don't know if the Islanders are actually in action tonight or not. But anyway, look, we're going to take your anytime hotline calls. Before we do, though, we are on a mission to grow Broads Media in every way possible. So if you're enjoying this, make sure you hit the thumbs up button and subscribe as well. But I want to also let you all know that Sports Talk with Broads is available for you on all podcasting platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. And you can leave a 5-star rating and a review. That goes such a long way with the algorithm. I can't thank you all enough for enjoying the content that we make here. And by the way, we have something special happening and in the news here as well, because we have more content coming your way. Coffee with Broads is back starting March 28th, which is opening day for your Fightins. Join the Broads Media membership here on YouTube for $4.99 a month, and you will have access to Coffee with Broads live streams every Monday and Thursday at 11 a.m. It'll be laid back, super chill, very interactive with the chat. There's also a Broads Media Discord channel that is currently active, where we will communicate live when games are going on, talking about the action in real time. Nothing is changing with the current pods and the model. This is just an added bonus. So I'm looking forward to starting Coffee with Broads live streams again with you all March 28th. And make sure if you're interested, you grab your membership down below. All right, to the phones we go. Let's kick things off with the one, the only, Amadeo.
I am begging Danny Briere and Keith Jones to not prove me wrong. I gave them so much hope, so much faith, and right now I am very skeptical about what's happening at this trade deadline. If any of those rumors, if they do extend Walker and Seeler to what is rumored out there,
gross.
That, in my honest opinion, is organizational malpractice, and it is a complete utter lie to what they were basically going through their whole plan. I just don't see the goal in mind if that's the case. Now, we don't know what's happening at this trade deadline. Walker could end up traded. Someone else could end up traded, and, they committed to their word. But it just doesn't sound like it. It just doesn't give me the confidence that something is going to happen because all this hearsay and all this nonsense. It's just... Right now, there's a little bit of skepticism in me just because they're going through this plan, they're going through this quote-unquote rebuild, I'm still trying to figure out other things that they're trying to accomplish in that fact. That, one, what this team lacks. They lack a first-line center. They still lack a true number one defenseman, regardless of how high we think on Drysdale. Hopefully he can develop into that. But right now we still don't know who that is. They do lack some size and some net front presence, and that could be acquired anywhere. But the first-line center is really huge for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, but I don't know how that impacts the trade deadline right now, because that 1C isn't going to come from who you're getting in the Sean Walker, unless you're saying you get a first-round draft pick for Sean Walker or something along those lines, and then you draft a first C with that. If that's what you're saying, then yeah, for sure. But I almost think those aren't mutually exclusive. I think we can have a conversation about how you get a 1C and a 1D in the draft, and maybe just the idea behind the trade deadline. But I guess I could see if you tie them together, as I just mentioned, too. Don't get me wrong. You know what? At the end of the day, though, what really concerns me is even if they do end up taking the path that we all want them to take, right? They end up trading a Sean Walker. They might sign Seeler. I don't like it. I would try and trade him. I would have tried to trade Scott Lawton, too. You're telling me you couldn't have got anything for Lawton. They were afraid of trading him, and they wanted to keep him longer. I'm telling you. I mean, I'm sure that there were some pretty damn good, decent packages on the table that they didn't want to even try to attempt to say yes with or try to work with, unless they were getting overpaid, right? That's what I was hearing all over the place. Unless someone overpays. But what if they pay? You know, we use the term overpay. What if they pay? Not overpay, not underpay. They pay. What about that? Because it seems like if that was a possibility, the Flyers would have said no to that. And that upsets me. So back to my original point I wanted to get at here. Even if they do what we want them to do, just because in the back of our minds we're aware that they were bottling it up and having a higher debate than we thought. It was definitely more discussed on, should we keep Walker, should we not? Here's the numbers. And I want you to do all your research for sure, but they're closer, or they were closer to signing Walker than they should have ever been. I mean, it should have never even been a discussion at all. We're trading him no matter what. I'm not talking publicly. I'm saying behind the scenes. And behind the scenes, they definitely talk numbers. So knowing that that was even a possibility in a higher percent chance than it ever should have been scares me, even if they choose the right thing, if that makes sense. I thought we were past that. I thought we were done that step. We've already recognized as an organization we're not going to make mistakes that previous regimes made. But hold on a second. Maybe we are now. Maybe we are. Which is disappointing. You got to take steps as a franchise. I thought we took a big step with those two, and now I don't know. I don't know. Even if they make the right decision here, I don't know, because they were truly wondering, and you can't truly wonder this. They probably could have got rid of Scott Lawton and got some nice ammo back in return. It's unbelievable. All right, next call.
Rhodes, what's good? You know, I know you're worried about the Flyers deadline,
yes,
but, you know, let's just be real. Like, if they win the Stanley Cup, that kind of defeats the purpose of a rebuild, no? Well, you know, I'm joking, because in all seriousness, winning the Stanley Cup and really just getting to the playoffs should be the goal of this team, given the pieces they have and given the success they've had over the last year. I think it would be foolish for Danny to consider trading these pieces that, you know, that are getting talked about in these rumors. But they're just rumors, so I'm hoping they stay the course and they have the intention of making the playoffs and fighting for a Stanley Cup.
Whoa, so if I heard that correctly, you want them to keep. You want them to stay afloat. You want them to keep their pieces. I would have traded Walker. I would have traded Seeler. I would have traded Lawton. If you walked away from this trade deadline and traded all three of those guys, and there was something I saw, this was 32 Thoughts. I quote tweeted it this morning. This would be wrong. This would be wrong. Okay. Oh, this was Freeman on Spit and Chicklets. Excuse me. Edmonton offered a first for Tanev, but Calgary had to take a player, and Calgary did not want to do that deal. I believe they have done something similar with Philly for either Walker or Seeler. We're interested, but here's the first, but you have to take a guy. So essentially, eat 1 year, $3 million. Eat 1 year, $4 million. CeCe is the example that's being thrown around, and you have to do that. As much as I want to look for a playoff push too, and I've been selling pretty high on just get in the playoffs. I watched the Phillies during a World Series run the year they lost to the Houston Astros. They walked into St. Louis. Nobody really thought that they'd go on that level. You just never know. Now, ultimately, I know their roster. I know their goalie situation. I'm aware of their struggles to score. Their power play, the day they lose, we will talk about their horrendous power play. We'll probably never see a power play like this ever again in our existence as human beings. That's how putrid the power play has been, and it'll absolutely, and I said this since Game 10 when I realized this is crap. At some point, I'm sorry, you can't keep it up unless your penalty kill is thriving at the clip that it does. But can you keep that up forever? I don't know. Maybe Scott Lawton and Travis Konechny duo is that ridiculously gross that they have something when the lights shine bright on the biggest stage, right? So, who the hell knows? Who the hell knows? I always praise that you could do whatever the second you get into the playoffs in this sport. And I like that. I do. You have to trade off. You have to trade off. It's the right thing to do. We wanted to see where they would be at, and I know they're in a good position, truly, an all right position, a solid position right now with the teams behind them. Less about how great the Flyers are, even though they are resilient and deserve praise for that. They never go down. They'll always fight back and crawl back, even if they lose. How bad is it that Devils loss on the Stadium Series stage happened because the Devils blow. And I'm not really afraid of the Islanders either. So maybe it's less about the actual Flyers and more about everything else, but that's what it is. I can't change that. That's what it is. I can't change the teams that are behind them. That's out of your control. Let's take another call.
Bro, this is a fascinating trade deadline for Danny B and the Philadelphia Fly guys. I won't be upset as long as Danny does not trade away significant futures, which I think you and I both know that he won't. If they sell, so be it. If a guy like Sean Walker is out of here, remember back in the summer when the Flyers got draft capital for eating that salary and they turned Sean Walker into a positive asset for their franchise. That alone is a huge success.
Yes.
If they stand pat and try to make a push with what they've got, not getting rid of anybody.
Well, real quick, I was saying yes just because I like the way you phrased it. I think it was a phenomenal job showing you how you find something like that and make it valuable. That's why you have to finish the job. I don't like the idea of just staying put with it when you can get more assets. The way you flip like that, you go out, eat salary, do this, make a trade, take money, take players that people want to give up on. You turn that into something that can get you a second-round pick. Turns you into something that at one point this season was being talked about as a potential first-round pick. If you churn that over and over again, and you also utilize your draft picks that you have, and you get one from Claude Giroux trade, and now you have that, and plus other. If you do that, now we're talking. But you can't stop. You can't stop in the middle. You have to keep figuring this thing out and pushing the buttons all the way through. But I'll let you continue here.
I can't really be upset. These guys have played hard this year, and they deserve it. Even if they want to go after a backup goalie and give up a 4th-round pick to get him in, even if it's only for the rest of the year, just because it's better than what we have, it would help this team out a lot. But the Flyers are still in a rebuild. I get it. But a lot of the guys that they have are going to be around long term. So it's really going to be interesting to see what Danny does. I don't really expect much, but I'm very curious to hear your thoughts.
Well, my thoughts is Danny Briere is going to trade Sean Walker. He's going to keep Nick Seeler and sign him to a deal. He's going to keep Scott Lawton. So by the end of this thing, we trade off Sean Walker. just saying that out loud, and I've never actually said it out loud. It's only been internal thoughts as I was preparing to do the show tonight, putting my notes together. But when I actually just physically said it out loud, hey, here's the post-deadline pod. This is what we're breaking down because the Flyers did blank. And I got one thing on the list. Traded Sean Walker. Underwhelming. Got to be honest. Not thrilled. Last call here.
Hey, bros. Love the show.
Thank you.
Basically, you've got the situation of Sean Walker. I don't think there's any way that Danny can mess this up. It's either one of two things. He's going to get rid of him, probably get a decent return, or he's going to keep him. And he's probably going to sign him for a considerable amount of time. You know, with the whole Michkov timeline thing, I don't think anything he would sign up for would kind of impede anything like that, but we'll have to see. The only thing that would be a problem is if he doesn't do anything. So it's going to be a wild next couple days.
It is. And Flyers Twitter is drunk, and it's doing all sorts of drugs, which is funny, but sometimes a little too much for me. You can't keep Sean Walker and sign him. He's not this. He's just not this. This isn't what he is every year. We're not doing Sean Walker. I'm not convinced that Sean Walker is a top 4 defenseman, and that's what he is. Like no, and you don't sign your 5 and 6 guy to a big deal. Your long-term deals. You don't do that. That's bad business. All right. We'll see what happens on Friday. Wow. Talk to you then.